one of my favorite moments in working with you, Warwick, was when you were preparing for a speech that you were going to give. And every time you had prepared for this speech before, you were talking about your Crucible. You're talking about the failed takeover of the family media company. And then you talked about a speech you gave in church, and people were moved by it. You couldn't understand how people were moved by a speech you gave because, and you said this, you would say this in the first 25 times I heard you say it as you were practicing. You would say, I looked around. I didn't understand how this could resonate with people because I did not see any other failed media moguls in the congregation. You always use the word failed media mogul. And then one day, when you were preparing for a speech, we were sitting in your study at your house. We were sitting in your house. You were preparing for your speech, and you said, I looked around and I didn't see any other former media moguls. And I was like, that's it, right? That was that moment when you weren't defined by your worst day anymore. You didn't use a word that had defined you for so long, failure. You took it out. You deleted it. You threw it out. That was a powerful moment to watch you go through. What does that liberation feel like when you're in stage 3, right? When you're not defined by your worst day, just emotionally, because we talked a lot about emotions here. What does it emotionally feel like to be beyond that? Even if it's only 85, 95% of it, you're mostly behind it all the time. It's very, very small. What does that feel like? So listeners who may be having their worst day today will know what to look for.
You're right to pick up on that. I mean, that says subconsciously a lot to go from failed to former. Former is more a statement of reality. There's less emotion behind it. Failed is similar to I am a failure. It would be a synonym in this case. Not always, but in this case, failed meant failure. I am a failure, like forever, was the subtext. So yeah, I can, obviously because of what I do and we do, I talk about the, failed takeover, but yeah, it's more objectively, talking about what happened. Well, I don't give a talk and have to go in my room and, sob for a few hours or something. I mean, those, those days did exist, but they don't happen. At least I can't remember, it happening often, if ever, for a long, long time. Doesn't mean there aren't twinges every once in a while. People use this word often today, and rightly so, being triggered. Yes, I'll be triggered occasionally by something I read or wherever, an article in an Australian paper that references me, or, there was some cartoon in the last few years that, wasn't, overly favorable.
Correct. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's subconsciously being able to say, as I've said more recently, that what I went through was a gift. I couldn't say that 5 years ago. I'm not sure I could have said that 2 or 3 years ago, but being able to say former and not failed, that what I went through was a gift in some sense, because I wouldn't be where I am without that, to have some sense of gratitude. I've used words like, freedom, liberation from, the situation I was in. So that's a very significant mind shift and heart shift and soul shift